Good afternoon. It is Sunday, September 5th, 2020, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Ellensburg, Washington. This is the Best Lamb Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamb. With me, as always, is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
What's going on, everybody?
We are live streaming on YouTube right now. So if you're listening to us, you should tune in. That doesn't make any sense. We are on Twitter at Lamb Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com. And please check out the webpage, lambsports.com. We've already determined we don't need to say the www, but I'm going to remind you that it starts with that. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on the website. So, as always, our first segment of the show is brought to you by The Range. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting facility at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 7. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, Parker, we had college football.
Yeah, about time.
I mean, like 6 games. But but we had college football, which was pretty exciting, I guess. It feels wrong still. Am I right? I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong, but it still feels funny.
Well, it's because the teams that you want to watch aren't going to play.
That's true. None of the teams that I would not normally have tuned in to watch probably any of these teams play today.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And we'll talk about them later. We'll talk about which teams played and who did what today. We're also going to talk about the NBA playoffs still rolling along. The conference semifinal matchups. The Timbers play tomorrow. Korean baseball, Major League Baseball standings, the current Formula One race comes tomorrow, all that stuff. So, we're going to start off with a trivia question, like we always do, because that's what we do. And the trivia question this week, brought to you by Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. 2 tasting rooms to choose from: the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, and downtown, which is 210 Oak Street, both in Hood River. Go to staveandstone.com and check out their gift baskets, perfect for the wine lover in your family. For more information, call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Or you can email them, info@staveandstone.com. Stave and Stone, wines with personality. So, trivia question this week. We did football last week, right? What did we do last week? Wasn't it football?
Yeah,
it was football. And so we're doing basketball this week because here we are in the conference semifinals. So I got a great question.
Okay.
Game 7 between the Jazz and the Nuggets, which we just had, 2 days ago?
Yeah. One
of the lowest scoring playoff games in NBA history.
It's incredible.
80-78, right? 2 teams that were averaging over 115 points a game couldn't score all of a sudden. Wow. That's the definition of the team that choked least won that basketball game.
Yep.
But it was not the lowest scoring game in NBA playoff history. And what I want to know, of course, is what was the lowest scoring game in NBA playoff history? And you can think about that for about, the next 45 minutes or so, because we're going to give the answer at the end of the show. So let's talk about the NBA, because there was some stuff going on in the NBA. Today, the Raptors tied the series with the Celtics 2-2, and they looked much better and didn't look as lucky doing it as they were last time. That last play at the end of Game 3, the three-pointer to win the game, might have been the turning point for the Raptors' playoff lives, if you want to call it that.
Right. And Fred VanVleet said that. He said that they messed up. He said the Celtics messed up by letting them win that one.
The inbound pass that had to be perfect to give him the right catch and release. You know what I mean? I don't even know how that ball got over there. Long story short, they play today, and it's 193, and it's tied now 2-2, and all of a sudden, you had Pascal Siakam, 24 points, 11 rebounds. Kyle Lowry had 22 points and 11 rebounds to lead the Raptors. They were outshot. They were out-rebounded. But the Celtics couldn't hit a three-pointer to save their behind. They were 7 of 35 from the three-point line.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what doomed them.
Yeah. Celtics should be a much better team than they are. I have no clue why. I say them better than they are. They have 2 wins already in the series, but These last two games, they have just, well, the first game they let it slip away at the end, and this one they just didn't look right. And if this is a trend, they're going to lose this series 4-2 at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going. I mean, I think the Raptors have all the confidence right now.
Yeah, they're riding really high, and that is not a team that you want feeling like they can beat you.
Yeah, it looked for all the world like Boston was the better team and just wasn't scoring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think the Raptors get a little lucky sometimes. They don't have all the time. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard's still on this team, I'm thinking that they're a shoe-in for the conference finals. But with where they're at right now, man, they're
Well,
not quite it.
but
But they're playing confidently. And confidence masks a lot of issues.
but then the question becomes, if they're playing confidently right now and they manage to win this series against Boston, and it's far from over. There's still 2 games. There's still maybe 3. Um, but if they can win this series, they are a good chance they're not going to play the Milwaukee Bucks because the Milwaukee Bucks lost yesterday again to the Miami Heat. And I don't know what's wrong with the Milwaukee Bucks, but they're now down 3-0 in that conference semifinal to the Heat. And I know the Heat's a pretty good team. I just don't understand why the team with the best record in the NBA can't beat them once.
Well, because the team with the best record in the NBA isn't quite that great. You know, I never felt like Giannis's team was capable of beating anybody. I just felt like they were just happening to beat people. It wasn't great the way they were beating people either. They weren't blowing out teams pretty routinely. And not to mention their bench has started not playing as well in the playoffs. Everyone talks about playoff basketball as a whole other thing. And those bench players got to step up, and they're not doing it right now.
Giannis was 7 of 21 from the floor, 0 of 7 from three-point line. He had 21 points, 16 rebounds, and 9 assists. Still almost a triple-double, but he was basically it.
Right.
Brook Lopez played very well for them in the middle, but they weren't. I don't know. It seems like they're just nobody else out there. I mean, Middleton has 18. There were other scorers, but the bench had 25 points.
Yeah,
out of their 100.
Not great.
No, and Kyle Korver didn't score. He played 5 minutes. Only took 1 shot. So I don't know if he got hurt because I didn't see that part. But hey, they just didn't have it. They should be better. There's another team that they should be better than what I just watched for 3 games because the Heat looks like they own them.
Right.
And this was a Milwaukee Bucks, a 9-point or a 7-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and they get outscored 40-13 in the fourth quarter in crunch time, and that's just kind of unacceptable. If you're going to win a championship, you can't be outscored down the stretch like that. So
yeah.
Anyway, you feel like the Heat are going to close it out? It's going to be a sweep? 4?
I don't think it's going to be a sweep, but I do think that they're gonna wrap it up, and it's not going to be much of a competition.
Jimmy Butler had 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. He did shoot 19 free throws by himself. The Bucks as a team shot 21.
A little bit of league stuff going on there. How do you shoot 19 free throws?
I don't know.
The amount that the refs have to go, man, he's getting fouled all the time.
He does drive to the basket a lot. So, I mean, there's contact, and there is, but a lot of that stuff they don't call like 90% of the time, and then all of a sudden they do call it, and you're going, why? Why is that one a foul, but the other one isn't?
Yeah,
so
why did we call that?
It's selective. I mean, I honestly believe there is a lot of favoritism. There's a lot of selectivity into who is that going to the basket. How well does he act, and how well does he get along with the referees? And do you know what I mean? It just feels like
he must be pretty good at schmoozing.
Right. So yeah, well, and the Heat bench only scored 14. Well, I take that back. They scored 27 points, so they only outscored the Bucks bench by 2. So it was all starters. Adebayo's 20. Adebayo. I can't say it right. 20 points, 16 rebounds. That's a good night work. 7 of 8 from the floor, 6 of 7 from the free throw line. I'd say that was okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's we'll take it.
That's not bad.
So if the Heat close out this series, and the Raptors come back to win, this is what I was saying. Raptors look like they might be the favorite. or not?
I don't think the Raptors are going to do that, but because I think that I don't know because then you're talking about Raptors Heat, and which I think is fantastic, but I hate watching games where two of the teams are the same color. So that's a super frustrating part of the series
Well,
always.
in in reality, what happens if the Bucks come back and win four straight and the Celtics win that series? Then you got two teams that wear the same colors.
Right. So best case scenario, we get either, which I think the Celtics are going to win this series. I think they're too good. I think they're experiencing a little bit of a drought, but as it's trending right now, it's not looking good. They've got to buck up. But I think Celtics still win the series, and then I think the Heat win the other one, and then I think that is a fantastic matchup. Heat Celtics. Ooh.
So also yesterday, the Rockets stole Game One of their series. I don't know if stealing's the right term, but the Rockets pretty well looked like they were the better team throughout that game against the
Oh, I
Lakers.
remember when the Blazers stole Game One against the
That's
Lakers.
true. It is true.
Good times.
It is true. Enjoy that first one because it might be the only one you get. But they looked good. And James Harden scores 36 points. I mean, he looked like the real deal. I don't think they have an answer to stop him.
Yeah.
If they do, they're gonna. I don't know. I don't know how you stop James Harden. He's a scoring machine. That's what he does.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they played fantastic. They had three of their starters were over 23 points, which is really good. James Harden had 36. He had a big day, but I just it's the Lakers, man.
I hear it.
It's Anthony Davis, and your team does not have a big man. If he figures that out, which don't know how he hasn't, he's just got to look to Twitter. They'll tell him. They'll coach him up. If he figures that out, then
They'll coach him
the
up.
Rockets are hurting. I'm telling you, if you ever want to know what you're doing wrong in a game as a player, just go to Twitter.
Just
They will inform you.
pull out your phone at the half, and that's
right.
all you need for a coaching talk.
And you'll see, B-Rad 1 in Iowa saying, why is he just backing him down? He's huge. And you go, you know what? He's right.
Laker fan 363.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I think you get a lot of advice. Not all of it good, but that's beside the point. The Lakers are good. They're talented. They've got a lot. And the pride's going to come in at some point. I mean, look what the Blazers stole Game One, and then couldn't do anything after that. They really couldn't. The Rockets, I think, are better than Portland in terms of scoring and keeping up, because the Lakers have to find a way to shut down the Rockets. If they can't keep them from scoring, they will not win this series.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think you're absolutely right.
I think the Rockets are. James Harden is one of those guys where if you breathe on him, it's a foul.
That's unfortunate reality.
So there's that.
But the Rockets did the right thing. They did the thing that the Blazers don't do, which is in the first period they scored 29. In the second period they scored 34. But in the third period they didn't let the Lakers score 50.
Right. Yeah, you can't just let it go down the stretch.
The third period was 22-24 in terms of score, so they weren't able to cover that much ground from the lead that you had built already. It was so that's the most aggravating part, is giving up a whole bunch of, you come back out from the locker room tired, you took a nap or something.
Well, the Rockets pretty much, like I said, they looked better than the Lakers through the whole game. They led by 8 at the half. They won by 15. They outscored them in the third quarter. They got outscored by the Lakers, but they only cut it 2 points. So they didn't have that gigantic run where you go, oh my gosh, here they come. You didn't feel like they were gonna win necessarily. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens. The Lakers did at one point cut it to 5. It was 81-76. But really, that was when they were really kind of close, and it was not long after that, start of the fourth quarter, the Lakers flatline for 4 minutes and don't score. So good defense. Well done, Rockets, and enjoy it, like I said, and maybe they'll get 2. Maybe they'll get 3. You think they can win the series?
I don't think they can. Me, I'm a big conspiracy guy. I think the league is set up this year for LeBron to win it. But kind of regardless of that, I don't think they're talented enough just from a base standpoint. I think that the Lakers have too many good pieces that can get hot in the right ways at the right time. And I think that, again, size is huge. I mean, if you just put JaVale McGee and Anthony Davis and who's their other center? Because I know they got another hulking dude, Dwight Howard.
Yep, Dwight Howard.
Put those three out there and just have them stand near the hoop. What are the Rockets going to do? What is PJ Tucker going to do for 40 minutes a game?
Yeah.
Who's he going to switch on to down there?
Yeah, it if you aren't deep at the big man position, you're going to struggle when they can swap out 2, 3, 4 guys. You
They
know,
got Jeff Green. He's 6'8", but
well, they could put LeBron at center if they want to.
right. So imagine that lineup. You have LeBron, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, and JaVale McGee. Well, every one of those guys is above 6'8".
Yeah.
And then just for fun, you throw out Caruso, just for diversity's sake.
Yeah. Well.
and to be a pest on inbounds. But yeah.
All right. So the other Western Conference semi is the Nuggets and the Clippers. Game 1 on Thursday, the Clippers. Well, we were on the air. The Clippers were dismantling the Nuggets. It ended up being 120-97.
Yep.
They
Not look good for them.
They are playing right now, and the Nuggets have a 16-point lead at the half, 72-56. The Nuggets have scored 72 points in the first half against the Clippers.
Really puts that Jazz game in perspective now, doesn't it?
44 points in the first quarter. For the Nuggets, they had a 19-point lead at the end of the first quarter. How do you give up 24 to Jokic in the first half and 20 to Jamal Murray? And that's the points. I mean, that's 44 points right there. And I take that back. They got someone who hasn't scored yet, but 8 of the 9 players on their roster have at least 2 points already at the half.
Yeah.
They're spreading it around pretty good. Paul George has 14 to lead the Clippers, but Kawhi Leonard has 9. He's 4 of 11 from the floor in 19 minutes. So he's not
too much talent. There's a lot of time left.
There is a lot of time left. I agree with that. And they got a lot of players, but it's
It's concerning, but at the end of the day, if it's a win, then it doesn't.
Sure,
really
no,
matter.
and it doesn't matter at that point. You're right, but
Yeah.
it's the Nuggets are shooting 56% from the floor, and they're being outraged. The Clippers have 23 rebounds, but I assume that's probably their own misses at this point, because the other team's shooting well. So let's just, that if the Nuggets win, it's 1-1. They're going to tie the series. That series, I thought for sure would be a Clippers 4 or 5 gamer.
Right.
Okay.
It still
could be.
Yeah.
But I feel like if the Nuggets run away with this game, if you're the coach of the Clippers, if you're Doc Rivers, do you just rest some guys at the end of this game, or this game's out of hand? Let's just stop.
Absolutely.
And we'll focus on game 3 and we'll start over.
I think you have players who need to play to stay motivated, and so I think you kind of know your guys, your personnel that way. So at the end of the game, if you're looking at this and you're knowing, all right, PG needs some rest. He needs to come out, but if I rest Kawhi, he's going to get restless going into the next game, and he's not going to play so well. So hopefully Doc Rivers has done his research on his own guys and maybe toyed with this a little bit throughout the season. But yeah, absolutely. If you're down the stretch, Patrick Beverley's just coming off an injury. You might as well rest him. It couldn't hurt anything to have him not play a little bit. So yeah, I would rest some guys if this is a runaway. However, it's a 16-point game. It's halftime. It's time to regroup. Doc Rivers is going to give a very raspy but passionate speech, and Kawhi Leonard's going to nod.
Very, very raspy. Yeah, that's because that's Doc Rivers. Yeah, he's okay. So one other thing to note, if you're a statistic junkie, kind of like I am, the NBA added, I don't know when they added this thing, but they have a plus-minus rating for every player, right? Yeah. And it's basically the difference between what the score was when you came in and what the score was when you went out of the game, right? And it's a measure of how effective, I guess, sort of you were while you were on the floor, or your team was while you were on the floor.
It's their go-to stat.
Oh, they love the plus-minus. Every Clipper is a minus, and every Nugget is a plus at this point. So,
every starter.
No. So I see
Gerald Green's
Gerald Green is a plus 2. You're right. I missed. I thought it was a minus. You're right. There's one.
His 12 minutes of play, things have gone well.
And Mason Plumlee's a minus 3 for the Nuggets. So there's one guy on each team. Yeah, you're right. They balance each other out. But the starters, Grant's a plus 19, Jokic's a plus 19, Leonard's a minus 19 at this point. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it is only one game, so it doesn't really.
I think the key here that you're kind of looking at when I'm seeing it is 12 turnovers for the Lakers right
Yeah,
now. 12,
for the
12 to
Clippers.
12 to 4 or for the Clippers, sorry,
Yeah,
not the other LA team.
the other, yeah, the other,
12
the other
turnovers for the
Lakers.
Clippers. That's huge. Like you're giving away points at that point.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, well, and the Kawhi Leonard has three of them. Paul George
If they
has three of
score
them.
on 8 of those, there's the 16-point game.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. I still feel like the Lakers are the best team in the West, and I feel like everybody wants to see Lakers Clippers in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
If it's Houston Denver, will ESPN freak out and not
Oh,
show it?
absolutely. Well, of course they're going to show it because it's being played at the wide world of sports.
Right, you have to. But I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, how odd is this going to look for the NBA, for ESPN, for whoever's covering? If this turns into Heat Raptors and Nuggets Rockets, it's not nearly as
It's going to seem not great.
yeah, because there's no Kawhi Leonard, there'll be no Giannis, there's no Anthony Davis or LeBron James. I feel like Kyle Lowry is going to be the marquee guy in any of that's left. And James Harden, right?
Pascal Siakam,
Okay, there's
Russell
some guys, and
Westbrook.
sure, Jokic, yeah, Nikola Jokic. Anyway, Jimmy Butler. There's some guys, but I'm like, geez, it's like all their stars would be just out at the semis,
Yeah.
and that'd be rough.
It'd be catastrophic, and it wouldn't be good. It would not be good to have. So they've been touting this LA rivalry all year.
Sure.
Every single game prior to the suspension of the season was prime time ESPN.
Right.
Every single one.
And why?
So,
And while
yeah,
you would be drawing in the Miami audience and the Houston audience and Toronto, I mean that's a large city, and Denver, but you're going to lose two LA clubs, Boston.
Yep.
Those are gigantic markets.
But those
media
people are
markets.
gonna watch the games anyways. I'm
That's
watching
true.
the games, and my team is gone.
It's true, and
They've still got Portland.
and let's be honest, the Celtics fans are just waiting for the Patriots to take the field. Am I wrong? I mean, that's what they're doing. They're like,
A couple more days.
It's the
That's
Celtics.
there.
They used to be good, but we're waiting for the Patriots to see what happens now.
I don't know. The Celtics look really great. But see, my big question about this whole thing is if LeBron does not make it to the next level, is this a big hit to his reputation, his legacy?
Oh yeah, he was just trash talking people that were trash talking him earlier, right? Saying that he couldn't do it in the West, and he started
Yeah.
mouthing off about, oh yeah, they said I couldn't do it in the West, and we're the best team in the West. Yeah, if you go out in the semis, are you still the best team in the West? Not really.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So I think it does a lot of damage to his reputation, like because he already has a reputation for not being able to win finals.
yeah,
Like he's been to a lot of them, but when you're trying to be compared to the GOAT, you have to play like the GOAT, which is win 6 of 6.
you do.
And he's wasted 3 of 6, something like that.
You are not wrong. Okay, so let's put the NBA behind us for now. We'll talk about it again on the next show. You know what? I don't even have a schedule for a next show. When are we going to do another one? Maybe we'll do one this week. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. So, MLS, the Timbers play the Sounders tomorrow in Seattle. Looking to rebound from their kind of crappy last 3 games. They are 0-2-1 in their last 3 since coming back from the Orlando bubble and the MLS is back tournament. Hoping they can turn it around, but they've already lost 1 game to the Seattle since they've been. It was the very first game of the regular season since they came back. They lost 3-0 at home. So, it would be nice to watch Portland win anyway. But that game will be on ESPN Plus, which means you got to pay for it.
Yeah, you got to buy ESPN Plus if you want to watch that soccer.
At 7 p.m. Pacific tomorrow from CenturyLink Field in Seattle. Yeah, I mean that's not great. Let me just take a minute and say I don't like the ESPN Plus, the CBS All Access. I don't like those things. I understand it. I do. From a business standpoint, I get it. But I don't like those marquee games. This is Portland versus Seattle is as marquee as MLS has. And you shouldn't be paying for it. That should be the national game of the week of soccer, and you watch that one. Everyone sees it. And if you want to charge them to watch their local team here and there for the other games that's not the game of the week, that's fine. But this game, this is as big a rivalry. This goes back to the North American Soccer League in the 70s. This is as big as it gets. So I feel like these kind of games you should show for free on whatever channel. It should just be on ESPN.
But the thing is, it's not for free because ESPN isn't included in your
It's it
your basic cable. You can't just stream it from an antenna. You have to pay for cable. This is the option for people who don't want to buy cable to still get
Sure.
access to a lot of sporting events, and you get access to everything on ESPN plus the ESPN Plus stuff. And not to mention, you can pair it with your Disney Plus account, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is that let's assume you're a Timbers fan, but you also want to watch the women's soccer league. Well, that's going to require
Right.
CBS All Access too. So there's two subscriptions you got to
Well,
have.
I don't like CBS to begin with, just because they employed, what was that chunky guy with the bad attitude about the SEC?
Vern Lundquist, or
Lundquist.
yeah,
We didn't have a bad attitude about the SEC. You had a bad attitude about any other conference.
that
They employed
chunky
that man for 30 years or whatever it was. That's shame on them.
Hall of Fame broadcaster Vern Lundquist
You heard it here first. It's coming for your head, Vern.
was referred to today on the Best Lamb Sports Show as that chunky guy. So, all right, let's. So we just lost that entire audience.
South is offline.
Chunky guy. All right, so the Korean Korean baseball standings. All right, let's put it back together. The NC Dinos still have a 1.5 game lead, but now it's over the Kiwoom. Oh, it was still over the Kiwoom Heroes. It was a half a game. Now it's 1.5. 2 games over the LG Twins. It's going back and forth. This may come down to something exciting at the end, and we'll let you know because we're keeping track of it, sorta. And while I have stopped watching games because I stopped waking up at 2 in the morning,
Yep.
what I have still been watching the scores and seeing what's going on. But they are 100 games into this season. They played 100 games, all these teams, and they have managed to do it. This is what Major League Baseball couldn't really do,
Right.
right? Why couldn't they have done it? Well, why is Major League Baseball behind the Korean baseball organization in terms of how to get this done? That's what I don't know. So,
It's 'cause
right?
Major League Baseball has a bunch of, what is it? What is the quote from the movie? Bitchy millionaires. They have
Yeah,
a bunch of issues with people, following the rules. Every week you hear about some baseball player getting ousted by his team because he didn't follow the rules,
right.
and that costs people games. That costs people time. I think the KBO is a little more dedicated to it. Either that, or they all got it already and are immune now.
And that's
Maybe
entirely
that was an option, I guess.
just spread it around and get it over with.
Once one of you gets it, you all just go over to his house, hang out.
So what did Kirk Cousins say? What was his quote? If I
die,
die,
I
I
die.
die. Yeah, I mean, that is the ultimate definition of I am all in on the
As a coach, you got to go. Hell yeah.
yeah. If I
That's
die,
what I like to hear, Kirky.
die. I wonder. I didn't see what the reaction was from Kirk's wife, but I kind of feel like it was probably not as accepting as you as you think.
I can feel the look that she gave him
Right?
when he got home. Like
Right?
already. I
What?
know that look.
What did you say? I can
Excuse
hear
me?
that one. Yeah. So anyway, we'll keep you up to date still on Korean baseball, and when it gets to the playoffs, we'll give you some expanded coverage, and we'll let you know exactly what's going on because I know you're excited out there. I know that somebody's an NC Dinos fan or an LG Twins fan. They got to be out there. It's got to be more than just me that that watches this occasionally. So we'll let you know. All right. So speaking of the Major League Baseball, they're still playing baseball, and
Some people are.
yeah, they are. So we gave you an update on Thursday. The Rays still have a 5.5 game lead over the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Yankees have been kind of, let's just say, mediocre. And
The Yankees have been kind of mediocre for a while.
Well-
Even though they've made a couple runs in the last couple years,
you know,
they're wasting Aaron Judge's prime.
I clearly. The White Sox have a half game lead over the Indians and Twins because on Thursday the Indians had the league lead or the division lead, and now it's the White Sox. Like we said, these three teams, the Twins, the Indians, the White Sox, well, one of them's going to win the division. The rest of them, I mean, the other guys are going to be battling for a playoff spot. But heck, at this rate, after 39 games, these guys could all be tied. It could be a three-way tie at the end of the season.
Right.
And they're just kind of trading off wins here and there. I will say this: the Twins are 16-4 at home. That's like the best record in baseball, 16-4 at home. But they're also 8-12 on the road. So the home
You
cooking,
get out of your sheets, out of your bed.
right?
It's a little different.
Gotta stay in that dang hotel. I hate that place. The American League West, the Athletics have a 2.5 game lead over the Astros, and that's really all you need to know. Everyone else is kind of already out of that race.
Yeah.
The Reds, like the Red Sox, they're 14.5 games out after 40 games, so there's only 20 games left. They're 14.5 out. They're not mathematically eliminated, but in 5 games they will be.
Very soon.
Yeah, it's coming quick.
Could be by the end of this week.
Yeah, we'll let you know. The Braves have a 2 game lead over the Phillies in the National League East. That division's still very much up for grabs, really. The Marlins are 4.5 back. But the Braves look like the best team in that division. The Cubs have a 3.5 game lead over the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are only 500. They're 15-15, and they still have a lot of games to make up. I think that's going to be difficult on them to make up ground when they don't have any rest.
I don't know how you have a 3.5 game lead on a team that you have 8 wins more than. It's so frustrating.
because they have less losses than you do. The Cardinals have one less loss than the Cubs.
One less loss in 9 less games.
So you got to take
less games.
You take the total then, right? So
it's divisional, right?
Yeah, you got 8 more wins, right, than them. So there's 8, and you have one more loss. So subtract one, that's 7. You divide it in half. If you played each other, they would need to beat you 3.5 times to catch you.
Look, these guys ran out and got COVID. I don't understand why the Cubs have to play a doubleheader now, just because the Cardinals can't keep it in their pants.
I don't know if that's how you get COVID, but
I've not heard anything counter.
It's true. I'm not sure there's been any scientific evidence that you can't get it that way. So
Not even know what's conducted yet.
Yeah, well, we'll have to have a doctor come on. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And then in the NL West, the Dodgers are 30-10. They actually have the best record in baseball, and they have a 6.5 game lead over the Padres. If the playoffs started today, the Braves, Dodgers, Padres, Cubs would be in. The Phillies would be your wild card team, along with a team that is either 500, the Cardinals, or under 500 would be the team they play in for the playoffs. So not great baseball in terms of most of these teams are under 500. There's only 4 teams above 500 in the National League. So, yeesh. I haven't been a big fan of baseball this year. I love baseball. I'm a baseball fan. I love baseball, but I just can't get into it. So,
yeah,
they've ruined me.
Just imagine being the Phillies and signing some guy to a 13-year, $330 million contract just to miss the playoffs.
Right?
That's pretty frustrating.
I mean, I can't imagine giving a guy $50 million a year and watching your NFL team not make the playoffs. Let's see if the Kansas City Chiefs live up to that. But
or the Houston Texans.
Or yeah. So I mean, Deshaun probably needed the money. So all right. So second half of the show brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Go to BossKittyShop.com for your yarns, notions, and Boss Kitty merchandise, or to pick up a BossKittyShop.com gift card. Use the code Wear Your Mask at checkout and receive free U.S. domestic shipping on orders of $50 or more. Tune in to BossKittyLive.com at 6 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday at 11 a.m. every other Sunday for nerdy yarn craft, games, giveaways, more. They do projects. They make things. It's fun. You'll enjoy it. It's Boss Kitty. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So let's talk about some things that happened today in the NFL. NFL today at 4 p.m. Eastern had to reduce their rosters to the 53-man roster.
That's right.
And there were some rather large roster cuts. And so I know there's football fans out there. Let's talk first about the Ducks, because the Ducks kind of got hosed today. Brady Aiello, offensive lineman Brady Aiello, defensive tackle Henry Mondu, center Jake Hansen.
I didn't know Mondu was still in the league.
He was playing. Yeah, he was playing for Pittsburgh. Center Jake Hansen, offensive lineman Calvin Throckmorton, all got cut today from their teams. Now, not saying they won't sign a practice squad contract or be re-signed even when there's an injury. I mean, these are good players. They're not. These were 3 of the best in there. There's 2 of the best offensive linemen. 3, Throckmorton, Aiello, and Hansen. 3 of the best offensive linemen in the country.
Right. And
for some reason, they're not able to make a roster. I don't know. It seems awkward. Also cut today. Quarterback Steven Montez, former Colorado quarterback, was cut by the Washington football team. I cannot say that By the way,
The Washington
I'm.
football team.
Let's come up with a name for them, just on our own.
Okay. Let's call
So
them the Capitals.
I think that might be taken. Um, but
Oh, you
let's
could do it. You could do it like you could places used to have multiple
Capitals too.
sports team like the Cardinals.
Oh
They used
yeah,
to have
sure.
multiple Cardinals in the same city.
Yeah,
Just have the
you
Capitals there.
you could, I suppose, but I don't. I think that was just the people in St. Louis didn't have any imagination.
Right.
So
Right.
I feel like next episode, by the next episode, you and I are each come up with a name for the team, and we'll do the Google coin flip if we have to, but we'll decide who has the better name.
Right.
Remember, coin flip brought to you by Google. Um, they're gonna sue us at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
Kenyon Barner got cut today.
yeah, Josh Rosen was cut by Miami today.
Yeah.
So right, but former UCLA quarterback, and so the Miami Dolphins now are down to that quarterback battle. It's Tua and the Beard, and who knows who's going to win that? Fitzmagic's going to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna be there.
Former Utah quarterback Tyler Huntley was cut by the Baltimore Ravens
I saw that.
today
Yeah, that was
too.
a big one.
There were a number of cuts. I have the list in front of me, although it is by team, which is kind of sucky. But but Mohamed Sanu was cut by the Patriots.
Right.
I don't know what they have at wide receiver that's better, but maybe they got something that's better. I don't know. It was interesting to watch, to see the cuts and see who people are betting on as backup quarterbacks, or a lot of quarterbacks got cut today because you were holding on to 5 of them until today, and you got rid of some. So that's why the Dolphins got rid of Josh Rosen. Let me see who else I can just quickly find. Brian Lewerke used to be for the Michigan State. Was in New England. He got cut. David Fales, Mike White. These are all quarterbacks. I'm just naming them off top. And then of course we talked about Tyler Huntley, Brandon Allen in Cincinnati. Let's see. Kevin Davidson, Garrett Gilbert, Cleveland cut them both because apparently, what's his name's the guy. I'm not even going to mention that, he who shall not be named. Right. And there's just the Steelers cut Paxton Lynch.
Right.
There's a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, it was like a bloodbath. I mean, it has to be because they got to get down to 53, but it happens all at once, and then your head kind of spins, and you see all these names. Chad Kelly was cut by the Colts. Mike Glennon and Josh Dobbs were cut by the Jaguars.
There's a lot of them, man.
Jake Luton.
To think Mike Glennon won't have a job this year.
Jake Luton is who they're going with as the backup to Gardner Minshew.
You mean Luton?
Luton? It's Luton. But
Jake Luton? From Oregon State?
Trevor Simeon was released by the Titans.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Ty Smith.
He ruined my Broncos for a few years. He set them back a little bit.
Your Broncos were already ruined.
They were not doing great. You're right.
Brett Rippon was released by the Broncos. And by the way, they did get rid of running backs Levante Bellamy and Jeremy Cox. So I don't think they have 27 running backs anymore on their roster.
Told you they would make some moves and clear up that space.
They had to, and they had to get down to 53. They probably threw darts, but yeah, they got rid of some. Matt Moore, who had been in the league for 11 seasons, was cut by the Chiefs today.
That's right.
I mean, Matt Moore's had a fantastic 11-year NFL career where he hasn't played. He played 13 games in one season for the Dolphins. His first year with the Dolphins, and then in the next 8 seasons with the Dolphins, 7 seasons with the Dolphins, he started a total of 14 games. But if you can play that long as a backup quarterback, you are making money and not having to do anything for it. Best job in football.
You're forgetting about the biggest cut of the day, which is Chase McLaughlin at kicker.
I haven't
being replaced by Rodrigo Blankenship, that little glasses wearing dude from
He's a punk,
Georgia.
by the way. He's a punk. Have you watched him? His attitude when he does things? He's a punk.
Yeah, well, he went to Georgia. So.
Well, I mean, there's no accounting for that, I guess. The Chiefs, who cut Matt Moore, and that your tight end for the Cowboys, former Portland State Viking, Charlie Taumapeo.
Yep,
He
I
was
saw.
cut by the Cowboys. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, it was a bloodbath if you were from an Oregon school. I think today, pretty much. So
yeah.
it is what it is. And like I said, a lot of those teams, when the injury bug comes knocking, they'll be back on a team if they're not already on a practice squad. But
Right.
it's what happens. Usually those last few teams, those last few players that you cut to get down to 53, they end up being your practice squad players for the most part. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm looking at to see if there's any other gigantic names um, that really got cut. Oh, yeah, and there was, and now I can't. Now I can't think of who it was because I didn't write it down. Now I can't think of who it was, but
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson got cut. Yeah, Adrian
That
Peterson got
was a
cut by the
pretty big
Vikings.
one.
That's
That was a doozy.
a fairly large name.
Cairo Santos got cut by the Bears. That was huge.
Yeah, Jake Browning, former Washington quarterback Jake Browning.
Boo.
I know, right? Um,
We don't have to pretend to like him.
Well, no. I mean, I wasn't saying I liked him. I'm just saying he got cut. That was more of a proud moment than a. Um, so there was. Now I'm looking for him, and I don't have it in any kind of order. Unfortunately, I don't have the list. It's all by team. So now I'm sitting here struggling to find Prince Amukamara cut.
I think Laquan Treadwell being
Laquan
dropped by the
Treadwell.
Falcons was pretty huge.
Yeah, Laquan Treadwell got cut. That's right. Yeah, I'm never gonna find it now. Now I've got this. Probably,
It doesn't matter.
I probably passed it, and
There have been a flurry of cuts this year. You're right. It was a bloodbath. I feel like it all happened more this year than in other years, but
there's a lot.
and it's more noticeable people.
There's a lot more names that I recognize, which
Yeah.
is normally it's like they cut who? I don't care. They cut linebacker Krishan Hogan. Okay,
Right.
I don't know who that is, so it really doesn't matter.
I'll tell you, Shaquem Griffin got cut.
Shaquem
and
Griffin, yeah.
AJ's gonna hate me when I get back because I was not on the Shaquem Griffin marketing ploy. I was not a fan of the one-handed football player, and I'm happy that he got an opportunity, and I'm excited that he showed that people with disabilities can still play at high levels and things like that.
Sure.
That being said, I never bought into him being a true NFL talent. I just like same way I never bought Marshawn Lynch being a true Raider. It was all about selling some tickets, putting those two brothers together, the Griffin brothers.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a whole thing, and him getting cut, 2 years later. I can't wait. I'm in Lebanon right now, but I can't wait to go back to Portland to talk to AJ because I was calling it from day one. He was like, "No, he's going to be great. Like, he could be a Pro Bowler, man."
Do you think? Just asking. Do you think if his brother hadn't been on the Seahawks, would they have picked him up?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think so. I definitely think he's got some talent. I think somebody would have taken the chance because, again, it's a fantastic PR move to do it.
Yeah.
It looks really good, and you could pick him up with like a 5th or 6th round pick. It's a kind of low risk, high reward.
Right.
It makes you look really good. So, but unfortunately, his I think it would have always been marred by that idea that maybe it wasn't a legitimate pick. Maybe it was a money pick. So
right. I will tell you this. Oh, here's one of the things that shocked me when I saw it. I read this. I read that Lamar Jackson got cut.
Oh yeah.
It happens to be the cornerback for the Jets. But I saw that name pop up and I was like, what?
Somebody got me. They put Lamar Jackson cut today, and I was like, it's click here, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you just go.
I looked like a sucker.
Oh, the other Lamar Jackson. I get it. I see what you're doing.
That used to remind me. There were two. Oh my gosh. There was a linebacker who Brandon. Oh my gosh, a linebacker and a wide receiver in the league, and they have the same name. And one of them played for the Broncos, and it used to always confuse me. I'd see something pop up, and it'd be Brandon whatever, and I'd be like, what? When did this happen? He caught a touchdown today? When does he get a wide receiver? I was just so confused, and they eventually went on to clarify it.
Yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen. You're going to have those guys. You're not. Who was it for that?
Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall. That's it.
Brandon Marshall. Yeah, it was Brandon Marshall.
Yeah,
and it was right about the time that Brandon Marshall, the wide receiver, started bouncing teams, and then the other one, the linebacker, started getting really good with the Broncos.
I'm going to be. I'm interested to watch this year. I want to see the Houston Texans. I think this is a team that has talent. if they're going to be healthy. First of all, I mean, J.J. Watt, can he play a whole season?
Please.
Yeah, because that's important. But I I want to buy into the Deshaun Watson theory that he's worth the money they just paid him. I don't know that he is. I don't know that. I feel like he doesn't have any talent with him, or not enough to make him the quarterback. Like if you took him and put him on Kansas City
Right.
and let him run that offense, he would be much better.
Yeah. So you think that the Texans are kind of stifling his growth?
As a team, they're not exactly helping him. You know what I mean? He can't perform because he doesn't have what he really needs. They've spent the money on J.J. Watt, right? And now they spent the money on him, so they won't have any of the money to spend on another player probably. But I feel like they should be good. This is a team that should be better than they end up being. They end up being this 9-win, 10-win, maybe they won 11, but they should be a 13-win team. And they're in a division where you thought that was a thing they could do because Jacksonville's in there. And then Tennessee goes, no, we're the best team in this division. What? How is that? How is that possible? And Indianapolis now with, Phillip Rivers becomes a pretty good contender. They were winning games with Jacoby Brissett. So I don't understand. I feel like Houston should run away with this division, but they can't.
It seems like they should. Yeah.
But they just can't. They can't seem to do it. So I don't know. I don't know if
Get
that's
figured out.
Yeah, maybe one day they'll figure it out. I don't know, but maybe he'll prove me wrong this year. Maybe they'll find a way to win a few games and it'll be fantastic. And but I don't know. All right, so let's talk about NCAA football. It's our last thing to talk about today.
Right.
NCAA football started in earnest today, if you want to call it that. There were only 6 games, but it's still more than we had previously. So let's do you a quick rundown. Earlier today, Marshall won a squeaker against Eastern Kentucky, 59-0. Grant Wells of Marshall threw for 307 yards and 4 touchdowns on just 23 passes, and they just pretty much rolled over the top of a very poor Eastern Kentucky team. Army, 42-0 over Middle Tennessee, and
The Blue Raiders.
yeah, the Blue Raiders just. It was never. I mean, it was one of those games, just like the other game. It was never close. It was Army in control. They were running down the field, and Army ends with 340 yards rushing on 62 carries. But the longest rush they had was 37 yards. It wasn't like they were just piling up the yardage, but it just slowly piled up. They had 10 guys with positive rushing yardage. Army did. But that's what happens when you run the option, I guess. So. I can't remember the last time I saw 7 guys on a team have at least 25 yards rushing.
That's pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah, that's a lot.
7 guys on a team have 25 yards rushing.
They actually all had. There were 6 of them that had 30 or more, but 7 of them had 28 or more. That's what the bottom number is. That's what that guy ran for. But anyway, Army was just better. I mean, just a better team than Middle Tennessee State. So. Also, earlier today, SMU beat Texas State 31-24 in a game where I watched that game and I thought SMU was better than this, but maybe I just underestimated how good Texas State was. It didn't look like a game. I don't know. Shane Buechele for SMU, 367 yards, he threw a touchdown. TJ McDaniel ran for 130 yards on 27 carries for SMU. They pulled away and won it at the end. But it wasn't. It was close. It was 14-14 at the half. It was 28-21, and Texas State had the ball numerous times in the third quarter and couldn't do anything with it. The fourth quarter was kind of just a stalemate. But SMU didn't impress me in winning against a team that this is Texas State we're talking about here.
Right.
So anyway, I think they're in the Sun Belt now, Texas State. That's a non-conference game, by the way. And then the game's in progress. There are some in progress right now. In the fourth quarter, North Texas is up 57-24 over Houston Baptist. Yeah, I know.
Big matchup.
It is. The quarterback for Houston Baptist has thrown 59 passes. At this point, we still have how much time left in the fourth quarter? There's still 9:36 to go in the fourth. Quarterback Bailey Zappi 36 of 59, 419 yards and 2 touchdowns. And they're behind by 33. So, yeah, they're getting smoked. He's having a fantastic day. North
That could have
North
not winning.
North Texas has 320 yards rushing on 41 carries, an average of about 7.8 yards a carry. Oscar Attaway, the third, 5 carries for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns for North Texas.
Gosh, you gotta love defense.
Yeah, so there's that. Um, it, these games, I can't tell you who's any good. I don't know who's supposed to be good. Memphis and Arkansas State are about to finish the third quarter. It is 34-17 Memphis.
They ran away with it, yeah.
Yeah, they started to pull away. Arkansas State had a 14-7 lead at the end of the first. And now Memphis is taking control of the game. 4 touchdown passes for Brady White of Memphis. He's 19 of 25, 192 yards, and 4 touchdown passes. So Memphis, I would tell you, was the better team in that game. I would have picked Memphis to win that game 9 times out of 10. Right. But then the other game, which is the nightcap. This is the late game. They're just now starting the third quarter, and it's UTEP 17, Stephen F. Austin 14. So it's a barn burner. It's on ESPN 3. You should tune in. You should tune in and watch it.
ESPN 8 Future.
It is. It's on. But you can watch Arkansas State and Memphis. They are on ESPN right now. And the North Texas Houston Baptist, if you get the ESPN college football channels, that's where you'll see that, along with the Stephen F. Austin game. On Thursday night, UAB beat Central Arkansas 45-35. South Alabama beat Southern Mississippi 32-21. That I thought was interesting because at Southern Miss, I always consider it one of those better, lower teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But South Alabama beat them. The Jags coming up with a win. Games that were postponed. There were games that were postponed. Rice and Houston. That would have been a big game that should have been played today. But then also Monday night, BYU Navy, live from Annapolis. That's the ESPN game. That's Kirk Herbstreit and all that, game day type crew will be there.
The crew,
yeah, to broadcast that. That looks like a marquee matchup. That's going to be fun to watch in terms of the best football game thus far.
Yeah, it's going to feel kind of like the return to real football.
But so as we've said this, now we also have to address the fact that the University of Tennessee scrapped their scheduled scrimmage today. Head coach Jeremy Pruitt said 44 players were unable to go due to either positive tests or to contact tracing where they were in contact with someone who was positive.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that there were 7 to 8 people who tested positive.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them, we're just in the same rooms.
and then I know I heard Lane Kiffin earlier this week say that if they had to go play football today, they wouldn't have enough players available because of this.
It's a struggle all season.
So this is what's going to happen. I mean, I don't understand. This is why they say, Pac-12 and the Big Ten should have played football. Really? I mean, I don't know that you should be out there playing football now. And you can probably get away with it, and you're going to have some games, but you're going to get postponements. They've already postponed games they were supposed to play this weekend, pushed them back a couple weeks, and are going to reschedule them. SMU and TCU were supposed to play today. That's what's supposed to happen. And TCU has positive tests, so they had to postpone that game till later in the season. So it's interesting to me that they're still trying to go forward. Here's my question. The college football playoff is still scheduled to play a national championship on January 11th.
Right.
Is that I don't understand that from a perspective of why are you letting those 3 conferences have a national champion? Why don't you? Were you going to have a spring national champion too?
That's what they talked about.
Okay, that would be good.
It's
co-national champions,
spring.
Right?
They won't. No, see, that's you trying to negate their thing. They won't do that. There'll be 2 different national champions: a spring and a fall.
Okay, so then you'd have the first and only and ever spring national football champion, probably.
Sure, probably. Okay. Yes.
So it'd be like a one-time thing, and it's going to be somebody from the Pac-12 or the Big Ten.
Or the
Mountain West,
or one of the other
Sure.
15 conferences that
Sure.
quit
The
too.
Ivy League? Yeah, it could be.
Ivy League. Yeah, I mean Harvard. This is their year,
It might
or
be.
next year's their year. Sorry.
So my question here's the question I have. Let's assume we get into week 2 of the SEC schedule, which starts in a couple. They don't even start for a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
But let's assume we get into week 2,
Right.
and they start having to postpone games. There's positive tests. Things get out of hand, and
Right.
they have to scrap it because they don't have a way to make it up. They don't have the time, or they don't. I mean, whatever. I don't know if they will, but let's just assume that it gets so widespread that six of the SEC teams can't play football. Right?
Right.
That'll be enough to screw up their. What are you going to do? So, here's my question: these players have already played college football this year.
Right.
Are you going to let them play again next year? You're going to give them another year of eligibility? They didn't opt out. They went to play the season. The season gets scrapped, and are you going to and then if the Pac-12 and the Big Ten finish a season in the spring, let's say things get better and clear up, and they play a spring season, they finish a season.
Right.
Now, are they going to be deemed the college football playoff national champion? Because the other teams didn't finish their season. So I have a lot of questions that no one's, I guess, thinking about or figuring this out. How do you do it when it goes bad? What's the contingency?
Or because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in a true sense. So they're going to try, and if it goes down, then that's it.
Sure.
If enough players test positive and they have to postpone enough games, they say, all right, this just isn't worth it. It's costing us money to do all this stuff, and it's not worth it. Then that's it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bigger thought than that. It doesn't necessarily have to be who's going to get credit, who's not going to get credit. Sometimes it's just. I think the athlete thing is your biggest thing there, because what's to stop an athlete from playing 5 games with TCU and then transferring to Cal,
right,
and playing winter ball,
right?
Well, I'll tell you what's going to stop him is the NCAA, because the NCAA is decidedly not pro athlete; it's pro organization. That's why your question of credit for playing. Do you get another year if you only play 2 games? Like what's the threshold for this? If you play 1 game, do you lose the eligibility?
Right.
So I think in the past the NCAA has often sided with the teams over the athletes, but this year will be the first year where they won't really have as much of that luxury. They'll kind of have to. Their hand will be forced to side with the athletes. There's a lot of social justice things happening this year, and I think now would be the wrong time to not be athlete friendly.
Right, and that's true too.
And just from a pure like visual standpoint, you don't want to look like you're not taking people into consideration. So they've already announced that all of the spring athletes are going to get an extra year of eligibility. I'm assuming I have no doubt in my mind that all of the Pac-12 players, if they don't play a winter season, let's say that's scrap the entire, they'll get another year of eligibility. They'll play next year, which will really shift. Like, again, recruiting gets really weird in this whole process.
Yep.
But it's just something you have to deal with. It's something that's going to come up. I view it like injuries. Like, they happen, and it's weird, and it changes team dynamics. But, man, you kind of got to deal with it and roll through it. I don't think they're going to – no, the SEC will not allow there to be a co-national champion. So that's not going to happen.
But it shouldn't be up to them.
There will be Alabama or Clemson who's the national champion, because that's how this year's going to go. And then there will be a different national champion later for a different league. It's a whole different league, because it doesn't even include the SEC.
Well, but this is a whole different league because it doesn't include the Pac-12.
Absolutely, but they're doing it on time. They're doing it on time.
But
we're not.
I know, but this is my point: is that you can't call it a college football playoff. You can't call it a college football national champion, because not all of college football is playing.
You're playing college football.
Call it call it the COVID-19 national championship. Call it whatever you want.
They're not calling the NBA title the bubble title.
Yeah, they will.
We're calling.
They'll call it that forever.
We're calling it that.
Sure.
We will call it that forever. But
absolutely,
it'll still go down when you look on Wikipedia in 20 years.
And
it'll still say NBA champion. It will not have an asterisk next to it.
Yes, it will. It absolutely will, because that it'll say. Hold on now. Every year of every season that has ever been suspended or shortened has an asterisk next to it. Go look up the strike shortened seasons for baseball and football. They have an asterisk next to them. Oh, they only played 9 games that year. Oh, this was the year it was 2 half seasons in Major League Baseball. Oh, there's always a little blurb at the bottom that says, remember, in 1982, it was this. There's always going to be that.
I'm not saying it won't be a clickable
No,
link
what I'm
that you
getting
can
at.
go read about the season.
I'm not saying it'll be in the NCAA record books. It'll say it will. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it will. When they put it in the NCAA record book, there's going to be an asterisk that says not all the teams played. It'll be that way. It has to, because otherwise.
What was the last MLB champion the year of a player strike? Do you remember? You remember what year that was?
No,
because I got one here in 1994. It said no World Series due to player strike.
Yeah, they didn't even play a World Series.
They didn't even play one.
Right.
So, but other than that, I have not been able to find one looking through the records in the way that I'm talking. Think about where you find your information. You're going to go to Wikipedia. 1982. There is no asterisk here. It just says
it's 81. I'm sorry, 1981.
Still no asterisk. It still says that the Dodgers won at 4-2.
What are you looking at?
With what I had said earlier was when you go to look this information up, you'll probably go to Wikipedia. That's what 85% of the world does.
Okay.
And when you go to Wikipedia and you go to list of World Series champions, and you're right in there, boom, 1982, Cardinals, Brewers, 1981, Dodgers, Yankees. There are no asterisks here. This season for the MLB will not have an asterisk. It just won't happen.
I think you have to. But you have to.
The only notation in there that I see is that the Brewers were in the American League from 69 to 97. They had a little clickable thing for that.
They were. That's true.
But so my point is that when 20 years, when people are looking back on this, they'll remember the weird season. Some people will. But if you're just fact finding, if you're a 16-year-old in 20 years and you're just trying to fact find about this season, you will not have a note there on in the simple stats that'll say that this was a bubble tournament, because the teams that weren't in the bubble were not going to make the playoffs. So that doesn't matter. So there's that aspect to it. So everyone who was there was eligible to be there. You might say did not have full roster or something like that. You might, if you dug deep into it, and you could dig deep in all of these things and find out. If I click on that 80-something season, I can see that there was a strike.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where I don't think people are going to remember it that way. The football, however, will have to list two separate champions. Like you said, it'll be the only year when you look on the record books where it'll list two champions, a fall and a winter, or a fall and a spring. I don't know if they're going to do spring.
So I'm pretty sure that if we look at the 81 season, I'm looking to try and see. Yeah, so the 81 season, here's what happened in 1981. And you're right, in that list on Wikipedia, you're absolutely right. That is true. There is no asterisk. There should be, and I'll tell you why. In 1981, the team with the best record in baseball didn't make the playoffs. The Cincinnati Reds finished second in the first half. They divided the season into two halves and determined the two half winners. If they had two different winners of each half, they would play each other, and the winner would be the pennant winner for the National League and American League, right? So The Cincinnati Reds finished second in both halves of the season to two different teams, right? But they had overall the best record in baseball, and they did not make the playoffs because they didn't finish first in either half. And so that alone warrants an asterisk in that we didn't even put the best team in baseball in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you're not going to put all the teams or the best teams, or you got a crazy system that you've never used any other season, how do you not notate that and say, oh, here's what happened. They only played, this many games. In fact, it was 104 is what they played that year instead of 162 in 1981. But anyway, those are the kind of things that drive me nuts. And you have to say that somewhere that, oh, Alabama won the national championship in 2020. Okay, great. But they didn't play anybody outside of the SEC.
And this whole thing is still unfolding. We don't know. Did you hear they're talking about an October start for the Pac-12?
Yeah, I don't. Why?
Oh, and then we're eligible. You playing into December, and then we're eligible for the College Football World Series, or it's a College Football Playoff. So, and now it all shifts again. So, this is literally something that you have to go day by day, minute by minute, because if you're thinking too much on it, if you're worrying about it too much, you're always going to be driven crazy. I think that the Pac-12 is not going to play football this year. I think a spring term is stupid. I don't think it's a smart idea. I think you just cancel it altogether. And then yes, one college football champion works because everyone else just decided not to play. When somebody retires, they don't change in any sport. They don't say, oh well, we can't play the playoffs here. We can't call somebody a champion because this player is no longer playing, or if somebody gets hurt and can't play for a whole season. It's the same difference. just because somebody can't play or chooses not to play for whatever reason does not mean that life does not go on. There's still conferences that are playing football. Whether or not they should is a whole other story.
Right.
But they're still doing it. So I'm not against them calling themselves a college football playoff champion. There's not that many teams that are going to be in the playoffs, but I mean, good for you. You beat the teams that you've already beat in the regular season to make it to the playoffs.
And here's something that's absolutely possible. Let me just throw this out there, just because. Let's assume that because of what has happened, or because of limited practicing, or because of the scheduling, or I don't know. Let's just assume that the top 4 teams in college football, the fall college football they're playing at the end of the year, are from the SEC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they're all going to get in the college football playoff? Will they not? Would they? Let's assume that the winner of the Big 12 is 9-3 or 7-3.
Right.
And the winner of the ACC, let's say it's Clemson, but let's say they lose 3 games. Let's say they're 8-2. They go 10 games, they go 8-2. And then there's 4 one-loss teams in the SEC. They're going to put them all in the college football playoff. You know they're not going to give any of those schools a chance. It's so SEC heavy that that's what's going to happen. And it's wrong, but there's a chance that could happen. It probably won't, but there's a chance that's out there. So when you have more teams and you had all 5 leagues, the chance of that happening were slim, because somebody from some other conference was going to go unbeaten or have 1 loss. But now that you've narrowed the amount of schools and they only play each other, they don't play I don't know if Oklahoma's better than Alabama. I have no idea.
Right.
We won't know that. I just find it hard how do you select a college football playoff field when you don't know who the best team is? And what if they're all 10-0?
Right.
That's another issue. What if you have 12 teams that are 10-0? Now what do you do? Because not everybody's going to play each other. The Big 12 will, but the ACC and the SEC will not play all the other teams in their conference. So there's a chance you could have 2 or 3 or 4 teams go unbeaten in that same conference. So there's issues. I don't like it.
Yeah, just looking at the final rankings at the end of last year was LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, Oregon, Baylor, Wisconsin, Florida, and Penn State. You lose Penn State, Wisconsin, Oregon, and Ohio State from this list, and you're still looking at a lot of the same teams though. A lot of the same teams that made it down the final stretch are still kind of going to be there in this. Sure. But yeah, it's not right, and they might not even make it to the end.
Right. They may
Nick
not.
Saban might die of COVID on a sideline this year. We don't know. There's too much. We just don't know.
He's too unemotional to die. So
he'll be around forever.
Yeah, right. With
constantly a lurking reminder that your Dolphins suck.
With that, he ruined my Dolphins. I'm never going to forgive him. And he's going to be that old curmudgeon on the sideline that, you know what I mean? He's been here forever, and he's never changed facial expression. Right. All right, so we're gonna we'll keep an eye on it. We don't know what's gonna happen. We really don't. We'll find out. Trivia question answer. Brought to you by Stave and Stone, Wine Estates and Hood River. So the question was, for those of you who are listening now that weren't listening before, what was the lowest scoring game in NBA playoff history? We just watched the Jazz and the Nuggets play Game 7 and score like 158 points or something like that. 80-78 was the final score. So wasn't the lowest scoring game in NBA history by far. I want to know what the lowest scoring game in NBA playoff history is. Do you have any kind of guess?
Well, my initial thought was to guess that it was before shot clocks.
Okay.
But I feel like that's a trap almost. I feel like it's almost too obvious of an answer. So I'm gonna go with something when defenses were getting a little tough. I'm gonna say like mid-90s, sometime in the mid-90s.
Well, you're close. So
oh my God.
Without telling you the team, it was the 2002 Eastern Conference semifinals.
2002.
If you can tell me,
we're thinking like Celtics.
Celtics were one of the teams. Who played?
Who else?
Who'd they play?
Was good at that time. There were the Pistons were kind of badass.
There we go. Celtics.
Was that
Pistons.
It?
Celtics Pistons.
Hey, all right.
Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals in 2002. Celtics and the Pistons. Final score was 66-64 Boston.
All right, that's pretty terrible.
The Celtics won that series 4-1, and no team scored more than 96 points in a game. In all 5 games. It is the lowest scoring 5-game series in NBA history as well. So it was basically a lesson in offensive futility. And if you know the Pistons from around that time, you know that was a very physical, very foully, let's call him, team that would just hammer the crap out of you. And this was post the scorers, when they had Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas and guys that could actually score points. This was a different team, and Ben Wallace was on that team, and Jerry Stackhouse. But they were not the scoring threat. They were a defensive team. We will shut you down. And this was when the whole Eastern Conference was that way, and nobody in the Eastern Conference could average more than 100 points a game because that's all they did was defense. So that was back when basketball was ugly, but the games were always close.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's pretty remarkable. If it wasn't going to be the Pistons, I was probably going to guess the Hornets.
You can almost always.
They had a moment there.
The Pistons, the Pistons were involved in the top 4 lowest scoring playoff games of all time. So that's if you ever get asked a question like that, just go with the Pistons first because that's the team.
Yeah, when we were watching that Jazz game, we flicked on the TV because we were a little late to it, and it was the fourth quarter, and he said, "Oh no!" So we were watching the first half, and they were getting smoked, blown out. Right. The Jazz were just off the record, and we stopped watching it. We came back to it, and he turned on the TV. I was in the kitchen. My roommate did, and he goes, "Dude, look at the score." And I looked. I go, "Oh, it's a 2-point game. Wow. Oh, it's getting good." And he goes, "No, look at the score." And I'm looking at him. What? And he's like, "Look at the score."
Right.
And then I started studying the bar. Like, all right, fourth quarter, 8 minutes and 50-something seconds left. 65 points. 65 points.
What? Yeah,
it just kind of struck me. Where did all the scoring go? And then they cleared another 20 points each over the remainder of that game, but still.
Yeah, I mean, when you see it and you're not expecting it to look like that.
No.
You just, I don't know. You have this this anticipation when you look at it. Go, okay, well, it's 66-64. Oh, well, it must be in the second quarter, third quarter. We're in the third quarter, right? And yeah, it's got to be. No, it was just really bad.
Midway through the fourth quarter, 65-62.
And you're just going, wow, that was really bad. But just as a fun note, Jerry Stackhouse led the Pistons in scoring with 19. Corliss Williamson 15. Ben Wallace with 12. Cliff Robinson was on that team for the Pistons. Yep, he had 7. Chucky Atkins, Damon Jones, Michael Curry. You're going who? And the Celtics were led by Paul Pierce. He had 19. Kenny Anderson had 17. Kenny the Jet. And Antoine Walker had 16. But literally had Eric Williams of the Celtics played 40 minutes and didn't score. 40,
That's not what you want.
40 minutes and didn't score. Yeah, it was kind of ugly. I mean, it's an ugly basketball game. But anyway, so next show. When are we gonna have our next show?
Probably kind of get back. We can either get back to normal and do it next Sunday, or we can try it sometime during the week. I like doing it during the week a little bit.
I like the Thursday thing because Thursday is the start of NFL football.
Ooh, let's do it Thursday. Well, hold on. I kind of want to watch it.
It's not the Broncos, but
I kind of want to.
Well, you're going to turn the TV on and watch it while we're doing this, and you'll be the instant update reporter if you want.
Instant updates.
Yeah, let's go to Parker. Let's go to Parker live in Portland with an update on the game in Denver.
I like that.
But I think Thursday night's a great night to do it. We can preview the games that are coming for the Week 1 NFL next Sunday, and the college games too, and we'll go football heavy. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I think Thursday or Friday, one of the two. I think that's the time to go.
We could do it Friday.
I'm liking both days. I think we'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, we gotta let everybody know.
Social media platforms.
Yeah, we'll post it on our social media. We'll let everybody know when we're going to do it. It'll either be Thursday or Friday, and it'll probably be around 7:00 like we normally do. But yeah, if we do it on Friday, we can cover the other football games will be done, and we can talk about the results, or we can do it Thursday and give you live updates as it happens.
A lot of options there.
Who plays Thursday?
I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know.
I am going to tell you. I,
I've been
I
so
know.
waiting for the Broncos to play on Monday that I haven't
I,
even been thinking about it. But I'll tell you who it is. It's two of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league.
it is. It's the Texans and Chiefs, 5:20 p.m. Pacific time from Arrowhead Stadium. I don't know how many fans are going to be in Arrowhead Stadium, but
At
yeah,
least one.
two of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league going squaring up, going at it. I am looking forward to the Buccaneers Saints game on Sunday.
Ooh, Buck Saints is gonna be
The
nice.
Brady
Yeah.
the Brady Breeze matchup.
Brady
Brady
Breeze.
Breeze. I am looking forward to the Titans Broncos Monday night.
That's gonna be a good one, especially now that the Titans have expected to sign Jadeveon Clowney.
And I'm looking forward to the Chargers Bengals matchup just to see if maybe Tyrod Taylor will get hurt and we'll get a Justin Herbert Joe Burrow matchup. Um, Not that that will happen, but maybe I can wish, I can dream, right?
We can all hope.
I want to watch the Browns at 10 a.m. Sunday morning get thrashed by Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I want to watch Baker Mayfield struggle. That'll be great. Those are the games I'm looking forward to. I don't know about you, but and that Washington football team that to be named later.
Right.
We're gonna come up with a name for them next week. And you know what? If you're listening, send us a team name, a suggestion for the Washington football team, the former Redskins. I said it. You know what? Right here on thing. But you can.
Yeah, you can't say that.
I just did. We're live streaming on YouTube, right? We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. You can tweet us that name. You can send it on Facebook. You can post it under the Best Lamb Sports Show, or you can email it to us at lambsports or lambsports@gmail.com. I'm sorry, or you can go to lambsports.com and you can submit it there, and it will send it to our email. But absolutely, you can leave us a message there, and feel free, leave us a team name suggestion for the Washington football team because I can't call them that anymore, and I refuse to do it for the rest of the year. So we're going to come up with one name for them before they start playing, and
Yeah.
and we're going to call them that for the rest of the year.
I like it.
So that'll be fun. All right, so we want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns, and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. And tune in next week. And this has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. Thanks for listening, and we'll